Which side are you on? Which side are you on? We'll fight against DOGE. We'll fight Elon Musk. No Elon scab within our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk.
Oh, I am so sorry for that, everybody. That is really, really painful. Our first topic that I wanted to get into today has been all of the confusion, let's say, over recent Trump administration actions. It seems some of it earnest and some of it probably manufactured. Most recently, Democrats and some of the usual suspects in the GOP, like Liz Cheney, have taken to calling Trump's hiring and funding audits a constitutional crisis. From the Washington Post, we have this. The Tuesday directive builds on executive orders and corresponding memos aimed at reshaping the bureaucracy made up of 2.3 million civilian employees into a smaller workforce loyal to Trump and his vision. DOGE so far has moved to dismantle some U.S. agencies, push out hundreds of thousands of civil servants, and gain access to some of the federal government's most sensitive payment systems, prompting fierce pushback in the courts. Trump on Tuesday criticized the judicial ruling, saying, "It seems hard to believe the judges want to try and stop us from looking for corruption." Last week, a federal judge halted the Trump administration's deferred resignation program, which offers federal workers a way to quit and receive pay through September while weighing a legal challenge. The program is the Trump administration's most sweeping attempt yet to drastically cut the federal government. So there's a little bit of confusion here. We're calling this a constitutional crisis. I also have a good clip here from CNN's Scott Jennings, posted by Breitbart, who echoes that Trump's actions actually are in the powers of the executive, and it's actually the judges who are causing a crisis. Sam, I want to go to you on this to start. I know that you've been in this world for a while, so I'd like to go to you, and then Jim, don't worry, I'm going to get to you. I know you have a rant on the table here for this one, but I'm going to Sam first.
Thanks, Linnea. It's really interesting. The Constitution says very clearly that all executive power is vested in the president. So you say, well, we have these laws from Congress from the 19th century that are say civil servants can't be fired, and you have to basically allow them to sit there forever. And the idea was that you would take the politics out of the executive branch, out of the execution of the laws, that the laws would be executed according to the Constitution. And if Congress passes something and the president signs it, or it goes into law over his veto, the president executes it. Look, that's long gone. For decades now, the courts have been intervening to ensure that there is a buffer between the people of the United States and the governance of the United States, so that the executive branch has this gigantic miasma of people there that are not accountable to anyone, including to the person whom the Constitution names as the boss of the executive branch. So the courts have been intervening in this. Presidents have said, presidents who have been maybe on the more conservative side have gone along with it, but they didn't have to. All they had to do was say, you could do what Andrew Jackson did in the 19th century, which is to say the Chief Justice has made his decision. Now let him enforce it, because that is the role of the president. And I've actually been writing about this in my newsletter for the Heartland Institute, which is called Life, Liberty, Property, and you can get it by going to heartland.org. Please subscribe. But I've been writing about this for some time, which making the point that because the executive branch has this kind of bifurcated element to it, that Congress tells it what to do, and then it leaves it to the executive branch to decide what to do, and the president has no power over that. That is clearly the opposite of the way that the Constitution built our system. So what Trump is doing is actually restoring rule of law. He's making it clear that he's the boss of the executive branch, and within what Congress passes that has been passed into statute and is constitutional, then he will do what is required. But you can make the case that that certainly what we've seen, the evolution of the executive branch and the administrative state, that's clearly not constitutional. So the president is under no obligation to do that. And now courts have been intervening. They're intervening now, but they've been intervened for 2 centuries now. And in Trump's first administration, he didn't push back the way he is now. And that this is going to make a big difference. This is a civilization level change, and it will turn the American government back over to whom it belongs, the people.
Yeah, and I know that probably the gut reaction of a lot of people on the right and a lot of especially more libertarian leaning individuals is going to be, whoa, I don't like Trump, taking more power. But the fact of the matter is that this is a power that's enumerated for him specifically in the first place. So,
he's taking power to reduce power.
Right, exactly.
It's ultimately
Reduce
what he's trying to do.
unaccountable power, right? Because all of these administrative agencies, they barely respond to anybody. Even when the president is telling them what to do, they still tend to run off and do their own thing, it seems, especially when a Republican is in office. Do we have that video?
We do have a video. Let me play. So I made this video. So look, this just proves the point that this whole constitutional crisis thing, has been going on for a lot. This didn't just start this month. This has been going on for a long, long time. So here, let me play this.
On the path to a constitutional crisis.
We will ask 2 experts about whether or not this is a constitutional crisis.
We've never faced quite the constitutional crisis that we do right now.
They are fomenting a constitutional crisis.
Yes. Are we staring down the barrel of a constitutional crisis? This is an existential constitutional crisis.
A constitutional crisis, possibly.
The constitutional crisis alarm bells are ringing. But is anybody listening?
We're now like one subway stop from a real constitutional crisis.
We are in effect, a constitutional crisis.
Constitutional crisis. We're hearing it over and over again.
Nancy Pelosi's already said that Donald Trump is unfit for office. She said that he belongs in prison. She says that we're in a constitutional crisis. If that's not enough to begin an impeachment inquiry, then what on earth is?
Warnings of an impending constitutional crisis ripped through the nation's capital.
There are experts who are saying this is a constitutional crisis.
We are at a dangerous time in our history, a constitutional crisis that probably is the most severe moment since the Civil War.
New warnings of a constitutional crisis just weeks into Trump's second term.
The stage is set for a constitutional crisis.
Could this signal the start of a constitutional crisis?
Legal experts say our country could be headed toward a constitutional crisis.
They're calling this a constitutional crisis.
This is a constitutional crisis.
I am unapologetic in suggesting we are in a constitutional crisis right now.
Are we already in a constitutional crisis?
Those 2 words, right? Constitutional crisis.
Yeah, those 2 words, which that was a longer clip than we usually play on this show. That was about 1 minute and 43 seconds. And the first 1 minute and 20 seconds was all before this second term of Donald Trump. And so the media is in a panic mode all the time about Donald Trump. And the good news is this crap ain't going to be working anymore. The media has so destroyed their credibility that when they go out there and say for the 300th bazillionth time that something Donald Trump says or does, and often it's just what he says, he would just say things, and that would be a constitutional crisis. But the public isn't believing us anymore because the credibility of the media is at exactly 0. We have a zombie media. They're dead. They don't know they're dead, but they're dead. I see media people. They're done. They're finished. But we are not in a constitutional crisis. I mean, this isn't even a constitutional conflict, and it barely even rises to the status of a constitutional question. It's a dispute really about something very simple. the ability of the president to manage the executive branch that he was elected to run. And as you said earlier, Linnea, the Constitution is clear on this. Article 2 gives the president the power over the executive. It doesn't give a judge in a blue state, in a deep blue city, the power to run the administrative state. It doesn't give him the power to stop the president from running the administrative state. This is clearly within the powers of the president. And this is not a constitutional crisis. This is the Constitution working as written. What we've had actually over the last decades with an out of control and unmanageable, unaccountable, and apparently until this month, unexamined administrative state, the so-called deep state, operating as an independent fourth branch of government with no accountability. That is the constitutional crisis. And that is what DOGE is exposing. And that is what Donald Trump 2.0, the greatest upgrade in political history, is trying to address, is getting us back into a country governed by the Constitution and not by unelected, out of control bureaucrats who are spending money in ways that even members of Congress on oversight committees cannot get a look at until now, until DOGE. If our media today actually is interested in getting its credibility back, instead of all this, constitutional crisis stuff that is out there in every one of these things, they would be putting their eyes toward the administrative state that has been abusing the power delegated to it, unconstitutionally, you could even say, by Congress, and until this presidency, the executive branch. They should be looking at that. They should be happy that somebody is actually doing the job of investigating what the hell is going on in our government. But instead of reporting that which is what the American people actually support, they are outraged about what has been going on in this country. And we have just started uncovering this stuff. The media should be focusing on that and reporting on it in a way that it better informs the American people of what's happening. Instead, it's all crisis, constitutional crisis. It's ridiculous. So the media continues to self-immolate. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is trying to move us toward a more constitutional society. And that's the big news here. And that's what I'm very excited about.
Whatever makes government bigger and more intrusive is good, is constitutional, is right, is decent, is all good things. And whatever makes government smaller is wrong, unconstitutional, can't be done. This is a perfect case, USAID, because people were arguing, and they still do, well, Trump can't abolish USAID. He can't do that. He doesn't have that authority. Well, the reality is USAID was created by an executive order of President Kennedy. It was created by executive order. So somehow you can create an agency. See, that's the whole thing. You can create a slush fund via executive order, but you can't abolish that slush fund by executive order. Anything that expands government is good. Anything that doesn't is bad. That's how the system works.
They said out there, the complaint from the left and Democrats, of course, one and the same, is that nobody elected Elon Musk. It's like, well, correct. Nobody elected Anthony Fauci. Nobody elected any of the people in any of these NGOs to spend our money. Nobody elected anybody in the deep state or executive branch. But Elon Musk campaigned with Donald Trump. He was out there taking the stage himself, even doing his own events on behalf of Donald Trump. And he said exactly what he was going to do, which was unleash his technological, weaponized autistic kids onto the deep state to find out what the hell's going on. And so people knew this was going to happen. They voted for it. And this is finally, as Elon Musk, who, Bonner, by the way, is actually sleeping in the White House. He's set up an office and he's sleeping there.
Oh, he has one too.
Yes. So he's
that
high level. Yes. But he said in that Oval Office appearance with President Trump that for once in our life, the American people are going to get what they voted for. People promise all the time, what I'm going to do when I get in there. Donald Trump said he was going to do this. Elon Musk said I'm going to help him do this. And Elon Musk is not just some rogue person. All of these decisions are coming from Trump. Trump instructed Elon Musk to use his intelligence and his smarts and his technology to dig in here and see what's going on. And nothing happens. The idea to fire everybody at USAID or dissolve it altogether, which I guess may or may not happen, But change is happening, and that change is coming from Donald Trump, not Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the tool, is the vessel through which we are seeing all of these things, because every president, even Ronald Reagan, wanted to do this, right? Talked about reducing the size and power of government. No president has ever been able to do it. Only Elon Musk was equipped to handle this job, and the American people are very happy about it. The only people mad are the people in on the scam, on the take at USAID and all these other non-governmental organizations, and the perpetual funding loop that goes from our pockets to the politicians in Washington to the NGOs, and round and round and round it goes, and everybody gets wealthy while the national debt skyrockets and we have less take-home pay. That now may end, and we should all be cheering for it.